Now that we have our connection and a database selected, we can actually start working with our data. There are two functions in PHP that will allow you to create a MySQL query. The first is MySQL DB query. This function is used when you have not selected a database or want to perform a query on a database other than the default you've selected. The syntax is MySQL DB query, DB name, query, and the resource variable reference. The DB name is the name of the database you want to work the query on. The query is the select, update, drop, delete, insert, or whatever query that you're going to run. And the resource variable is the variable that we use to connect to the MySQL, as I explained in the first movie of this chapter. Like the MySQL connect function, this function also returns a resource, not the actual data. So we need to put that resource link into a variable. I tend to use the variable res, short for result. A query would then look like res equals MySQL DB query, the DB name, the query that we're going to run, and our resource variable. This query in particular would select all of the columns from the customer info table in the database RWPHPP, where the order ID column is equal to 1. If you've already selected your database globally, there is a function that works the exact same as the MySQL DB query, but eliminates the need to select the DB in the query, since we've already done that. This is the function that you will use most of the time as well. MySQL query, resource link. The query is, again, the query that you want to execute on the database that you previously selected, and the resource link is the variable name our connection is held in. So a query would look like res, MySQL query, then your selection query, and your resource link. Again, the MySQL query function returns a resource, which is not the actual result data, but a link to the result data. That needs to go into a variable for retrieval later in the script, which is what I'll show you how to do in their next movie. So you can see to this point that just knowing how to use phpMyAdmin to manipulate your data is not enough. You really do need to know the basic syntax of MySQL in order to use MySQL with PHP. The MySQL query function is the most used MySQL function that you will ever use. It is the core of inserting, updating, and selecting data, but you have to know how the insert, select, and update queries work in order to be able to use it. VTC also has a training course on MySQL. I suggest very strongly that you consider viewing that video as well, as it will assist you in using MySQL in PHP as well. So as with the MySQL Connect and the MySQL Select DB, you can also tack on the or/die function to the end of your MySQL statements. When using it here, however, you would be better off using the MySQL error function to report the exact error that occurred, as the error could be one of many different ones related to your query. You would add that on to the end of your query like this: or/die, bracket, MySQL error, and then brackets, closing bracket, and your semicolon. That will return the error text from the last MySQL function that was executed. The MySQL error function can be used outside of the die function if you do not want the script to stop executing when the error occurs. Though I find when I'm debugging that this is the most useful place to use the MySQL error function.